On March 25th, 2026, something happened that made headlines around the world. Sarah Mullally was installed as the 106th Archbishop of Canterbury, the first woman in history to hold that office. Within 24 hours, Pope Leo XIV sent her a personal message from the Vatican assuring her of continued Catholic-Anglican dialogue in truth and love. The media called it a breakthrough. Commentators said it signaled a new era of openness. But here is what nobody told you. That phrase, in truth and love, is not a concession, it is a boundary. And to understand what the Pope actually meant, you have to understand the full story, a story that stretches back nearly 500 years. From the moment England was ripped away from the Catholic Church to the quiet, strategic move Rome made in 2009 that may have already decided the ending. Most people believe the Pope's warm letter means Rome is softening on women's ordination. The twist is that Rome's position on this matter is classified as definitively irreformable. Nothing changed, and the real story of what is happening between Rome and Canterbury is far more dramatic than anything the news is telling you. Let me take you back to the beginning. For nearly 1,000 years, England was a Catholic nation. In 597 AD, Pope Gregory the Great sent a monk named Augustine to the shores of England to evangelize the Anglo-Saxons. Augustine became the first Archbishop of Canterbury. And from that moment until 1534, every single Archbishop of Canterbury was in full communion with the Pope. 1,000 years of Catholic England. 1,000 years of English Christians attending Mass, praying the Rosary, and looking to Rome as the center of their faith. If you're interested in deepening your faith, hit like and tell me where you're watching from. Consider subscribing to stay rooted in Catholic truth. Support our videos, team, and tools. Link in description or scan the QR code on screen. But where does this all fall apart? It falls apart in 1534 with one man. King Henry VIII wanted to divorce his wife Catherine of Aragon because she had not given him a male heir. He asked the Pope for an annulment. Pope Clement VII said no. And so Henry did what no English king had ever done. He passed the Act of Supremacy, declared himself the supreme head of the Church of England, and severed the English Church from Rome. This was not a theological reformation. Martin Luther had theological objections, John Calvin had theological objections, Henry VIII had a marital problem. He broke an entire nation away from the universal church because the Pope would not let him divorce his wife. And it cost two of the greatest Englishmen who ever lived their heads. St. Thomas More and St. John Fisher went to the chopping block rather than deny the Pope's authority. Thomas More's last words were, "I die the king's good servant, but God's first." The split was violent, political, and above all personal. It was not about finding a purer form of Christianity. It was about one king refusing to submit to Christ's representative on earth. Now, here is where the deeper theological problem begins. Under Henry's Archbishop Thomas Cranmer, the Church of England did not just separate politically. Cranmer altered the ordination rite itself. He changed the words, changed the intention, and created what amounted to a new kind of ministry. 362 years later, in 1896, Pope Leo XIII examined the Anglican ordination rite and issued one of the most consequential papal documents in history, called Apostolicae Curae. His conclusion was devastating. Anglican orders were, quote, absolutely null and utterly void. The Hebrew concept of semika, meaning the authorized laying on of hands in an unbroken chain, had been broken. Just as the Jewish Talmud teaches that when the chain of semika was broken, the Sanhedrin lost its authority, so when the chain of apostolic succession was broken in Anglicanism, the power to validly ordain priests and bishops was lost. This is not a personal attack, it is a structural reality. If you ever want to explore the Jewish roots behind the Catholic priesthood further, check out our web app for daily Catholic resources and tools. But now, here is where it gets even more interesting. For 400 years after Henry's split, Rome and Canterbury barely spoke. Then, in 1966, something remarkable happened. Pope Paul VI met Archbishop Michael Ramsey in Rome. It was the first formal meeting between a pope and an Archbishop of Canterbury in over 400 years. Paul VI gave Ramsey his own episcopal ring as a gesture of friendship. And from that meeting, the Anglican Roman Catholic International Commission, known as ARCIC, was born. For decades, ARCIC made genuine progress. Catholic and Anglican theologians found surprising common ground on the Eucharist, on justification, on the nature of salvation. For the first time in centuries, people began to seriously ask, could England come home? Then, in 1992, the Church of England voted to ordain women as priests. Rome's response was immediate and severe. Cardinal Ratzinger, the future Pope Benedict XVI, called it a new and fundamental obstacle to reunion. 2 years later, in 1994, Pope John Paul II issued Ordinatio Sacerdotalis, declaring that the Church has no authority whatsoever to confer priestly ordination on women, and that this teaching is to be definitively held by all the faithful. This was not a policy, it was a definitive doctrinal statement. The Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraph 1577, states it plainly: only a baptized man validly receives sacred ordination. The reason goes deeper than culture. St. Paul's letter to the Ephesians, chapter 5, verse 25, reveals that Christ is the bridegroom and the church is the bride. The priest acts in the person of Christ the head, in persona Christi capitis. The sacramental sign requires a male priest because Christ, the bridegroom, is who the priest represents. This is Christological truth, not cultural preference. Now I know what some of you are thinking. You might say, the Pope sent Mullally a warm letter. Actions speak louder than documents. Isn't Rome softening? No. Catholic ecumenical engagement has always operated on two tracks simultaneously: genuine warmth towards separated brethren as persons, and absolute firmness on doctrinal truth. Pope Paul VI gave Archbishop Ramsey his ring in 1966, yet nothing changed doctrinally. Pope Leo XIV's letter continues this exact tradition. The key words in his message were "in truth and love." Truth is the operative word. Rome's teaching on holy orders has not shifted by a single syllable. And here is what almost nobody in the secular media reported. In 2009, Pope Benedict XVI did something extraordinary. He issued an apostolic constitution called Anglicanorum Coetibus, creating personal ordinariates, special structures that allow Anglicans to enter full communion with the Catholic Church while retaining their Anglican liturgical heritage, their choral traditions, their prayers, their identity. The Ordinariate was created not as a recruitment campaign, but in response to requests from Anglican groups who approached Rome asking for a way to come home. It is an open door built with love. And every time Canterbury moves further away from historic Christian teaching, more traditional Anglicans walk through it. Meanwhile, the Anglican communion is fracturing from within. The GAFCON movement, representing millions of conservative Anglicans in Africa and Asia, increasingly refuses to recognize Canterbury's progressive leadership. Mullally's appointment does not just deepen the divide with Rome, it deepens the divide within Anglicanism itself. So where does this leave us? Sarah Mullally's installation as the first female Archbishop of Canterbury is genuinely historic. It tells us something profound about where the Anglican communion believes it is heading, but it also tells us something equally profound about what it is leaving behind. The Catholic Church does not celebrate this division. We mourn it. Saint Cyprian of Carthage wrote in the 3rd century, "He can no longer have God for his father, who has not the Church for his mother." But we do not slam the door. The Ordinariate remains open, warm, and waiting. For any Anglican watching this, know that Rome is not your enemy. Rome is your home, patiently holding the light on for you. I encourage you to pray today, whether you are Catholic, Anglican, or searching for the visible unity of all Christians, that we may truly be, as Christ prayed in John chapter 17, verse 21. If this helped you, share it with a friend, subscribe, and check out our web app for daily Catholic resources and soul search. England was Catholic for 1,000 years, and the door back never closed.